He was once a thug from around the way. Easy.
As a toddler, you really have to know him and to love him. He was really a nice child. He was very sweet, and he was always active, and he just was a jolly child. He was really happy. Well, you know, one thing, I never really thought that it would go this far, but he always, you know, wanted to do something great.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
We interrupt this concert to bring you a special bulletin. EAZY E is now a fugitive wanted by the local authorities.
EAZY E, EAZY E. We have the buildings around. There is no escape. I repeat, there is no escape. When you're black out.
Me and EAZY grew up in the same neighborhood and what have you. Because he was out doing this thing, he was on the street hustling and what have you. I was DJing, trying to make my money doing that.
Well, I met EAZY. When I first met him, I think I met him in front of my house. You know, he was with Dre. And, you know, Dre used to tell me about all the stuff they did together, you know what I'm saying? The parties and stuff EAZY and Dre used to do, you know, before the Wrecking Crew and stuff.
When I first met him, it's like we grew up together, you know what I'm saying? He stayed like right around the corner. And he was like my older brother age, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, he was the man, you know what I'm saying? The neighborhood hustling, you know what I'm saying? He was doing his thing, he was like the man, you know what I'm saying?
I actually never heard of him, never knew him, because he wasn't a rapper or anything. He was from a different side of Compton, and I was on this side of Compton. So, you know, I never knew him. Dre knew him because they stayed in the same neighborhood.
So EAZY was always a cool little nigga, you know, he would always come around and just be in the background, you know, we knew he had a little paper just by the way he dressed and just his aura, and he wanted to get in the game.
I decided to go find a couple of artists to rap, you know, over some of the tracks that I had. And I needed some money to go into the studio. And there was only two people that I knew with that kind of money that would be willing to invest into something that you know, some idea that I had. One was EAZY, the other was Laylaw.
E&I, and the NWA, we go back before music, before the first record was released as an NWA or EAZY thing, anything like that. I knew Dre. Dre stayed down the street with his cousin and or whatever. He used to be there. Through that relationship, I met EAZY.
I called EAZY and Laylaw over, sprung the idea to him like, yo, let's make a record, let's do a company, the whole, and let's put it together. So EAZY was with it, because EAZY always did music and what have you. We used to make our little tapes in the back of his house and everything. I knew Cube, and I liked the way Cube wrote, so I asked him to write a song.
His group was like that. You from LA, we from New York. Ain't nowhere in the world is a LA dude supposed to write New York rappers' rhymes, and it was a big argument. And the song was called Boys in the Hood. So EAZY, now Dre told EAZY, won't you do it?
So it's just me and EAZY sitting in the studio. So I'm like, yo, man, won't you just say these lyrics down over this track, right? And he's like, man, I can't rap, man, I can't do that. I'm like, just do it. Put your glasses on, cut the lights down, let's do it.
EAZY was like, I ain't no rapper, so it took him about 3 days to convince him to do it. And it took about 3 days for him to actually do it too, because, you know, EAZY he wasn't tight as he was, of course. He was kind of loose, real loose. Straight amateur. And we worked with him the whole way through it. Boys in the Hood is what came out.
Cruising down the street in my 6'4", jocking the freaks, clocking the dough. Went to the park to get the scoop. Knuckleheads out there, cold shooting some hoops.
And what we did was went around and left one record at all the record shops and a card. It was a card to EAZY's pager. Actually, the card wasn't to EAZY's pager. It was to my cousin's house that lived by Cube. So people would call her and order the records, right? It's like, yo, I need a box. So she would page us and say, yo, they need a box over there on Florence, you know what I'm saying? So we shoot over there on Florence, drop a box off, come up like that. The record somehow, you know, just exploded, you know what I'm saying? One of the reasons why it exploded was because of Greg Mack of the K-Day. It was a radio station out here at the time called 1580 K-Day.
I thought it was good because I'd heard it before. Actually, they had already been selling it as cassette tapes. So it was all over town in the streets in cassette tapes. So I told him, I said, look, it's a decent song. Why don't you just clean up the lyrics? And then we'll give it a shot. And so Dre and EAZY went back, I think it was like a day or two later. We had a whole different version, but it was a clean version. Put it on the air, and it just blew up.
In the meantime, while we were selling the Boys in the Hood records, I was still DJing, you know, making like $50 a week DJing. You know. So when me and Cube used to hook up in the garage, and we would practice a routine, a show. What we would do was just take like the hit song that was out at the time and make it dirty.
That's what gave us our style, you know, performing at clubs like Dudos and stuff like that. We would take songs and flip them around like Roxanne, Roxanne, we made it Diane, Diane. And that's what kind of like, you know, snowballed into this gangster rap style, doing little stuff on the side and seeing the people's reaction to it.
From there, we got on a tour with Hammer and Salt and Pepper and Heavy D. Exploded from there. So we decided to form the group NWA.
Dre told me, he said, well, let's go out and do these shows with my buddy Eric. And I said, all right, no problem. So I met him and stuff. It was cool. And we started doing shows, and then everything else was history.
Yo, what you gotta do?
Got to get stupid. Got to get stupid. Got to get stupid.
Oh, what you gotta do, eh?
Got to get stupid. Got to get
Fresh. Yeah!
One,
Make some noise for EAZY, motherfucking E.
Compton's in the house.
When we put this tour together, everybody was scared to go, you know what I'm saying? They didn't want to hang with like us. I don't know why. What's up, Ren?
Maybe it's because of where you from, man. Tell them what you are.
I'm down when I'm stomping.
Now tell them where you're from.
Motherfucker coming straight out of Compton. Crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube. From the gang called with attitude.
We went out on tour. Records was just selling. You know what I'm saying? We'd be in one city, that'd be like the record is gold. Then another city, the record is platinum. You know what I'm saying? Then another city, you got so many more to go, be double platinum. You know what I'm saying?
With me. So when I'm in your neighborhood, you better talk. Cause Ice Cube is crazy as as I leave, believe I'm stomping. But when I come back, boy, I'm coming straight out of Compton.
We really just thought we were blowing up when we went on tour and the contracts came about.
I had been involved with a couple of the early rap records that had success. I was managing a group called the World Class Wrecking Crew through a guy named Alonzo Williams. So that's how I met EAZY. He played me a couple of tracks, played me a track called Boys in the Hood, which I thought was probably the most important record that I had heard since the beginning of rock and roll.
The all-star group is all of us, me, Dre, Ren, Ice Cube, and mine is me, solo. That's my album. It's by myself, solo. We make our records based on stuff that's happening where we live, you know.
Everybody grew up in the street. Everybody know what's going on.
That's explaining how it is with us. You know, where we're coming from. Not Beverly Hills or nothing like that. That's explaining how it is in Compton.
EAZY and NWA dropped their first record. The music business, the streets had changed dramatically, okay? The streets had went from being cool to being very hostile and very violent. And EAZY them created the soundtrack for the streets.
Everything you hear on our records is true.
Like we got a real controversial song coming out called F the Police.
It'll be out in January.
What is that talking about? Well,
self-explanatory. The police.
For no reason at all, because you black, you got a little bit of money.
And we getting back at them.
Beepers,
all police ain't bad police. It's like 90% of them. You know, and we're talking about that 90%.
Sometimes I want to kick the shit out of them because they've been having me face down. Want to kick the shit out of them.
since you've been in the music business, have you
Before, probably 9.
This letter had come in from the FBI, and I was asked to deal with it, handle it, or whatever. And at the time, this was the first time we'd ever really seen, you know, the federal government or a police organization or whatever go after a rap group that we know of and come out and actually take credit for it. The federal government is not supposed to intimidate, suppress, or in any manner stop the dissemination of constitutionally protected material. And if anything ever was in the history of rap music constitutionally protected, it had to have been the song The Police. I later asked Eric about it, and he just thought it was hysterical. He thought this stuff was like funny. I think he was amused that people thought it was so important what he did and what he thought. I think that amused him. He was terribly amused. He had dinner with the president. He just thought it was the most funny thing in the world that he got to have dinner with the president.
No, I wouldn't know I was having lunch with Bush. It was that I'm on this, these things called Athletes and Entertainers for Kids, Make-A-Wish Foundation. I give a lot of donations to different organizations. So what they did is they picked my name off giving donations, and they sent me an invitation to come down there. An invitation said, we want to invite you to the Republicans Party. I'm not no Republican, you know. So I went down there. When we went down there, as soon as I got off the plane, you had CBS, CNN, and all these people like EAZY E, gang member, drug dealer, and all this, you know, comes down here to the president's luncheon and all that, you know. And they just blew it up. Basically, what I did is I paid $1,500 for $1 million worth of press.
Above all, EAZY was the consummate businessman. He understood power, he understood marketing, he understood control. He was very Machiavellian. You know, for Ruthless, in the early days, Ice Cube verbalized, Dre musicalized, EAZY conceptualized, and I financialized, and that's what Ruthless was. If anyone thinks that someone beside EAZY E ran that company, then it was someone that really didn't know EAZY E.
I learned a lot from EAZY. I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about, you know, you don't have to transform yourself to be a good businessman. You don't have to put on three-piece suits. And you can just kind of like be yourself. You could be young, hungry, and successful, you know, and I mean, that's what I learned from him, you know, and I still use some of the things that I learned from his business, you know, practices to this day.
EAZY had a concept, or the concept evolved at Ruthless, which I thought was a terrific concept. We took all the best people, they worked on a record, we finished the record, we put the record out, and we started on the next record. So we did Straight Outta Compton, we did Easy Does It. When we're done with that, we did Michelet's record, we did DOC's record. So you had the single most talented person in the history of rap music, Andre Young, doing the producing. And you know, we had all the best guys doing the writing, Doc and Cube and EAZY. And I'll tell you something, only later on, after Dre left, did we get away from those principles that made us so successful.
We met back in 1990 originally. Just based off an image, I thought he would be kind of disrespectful and not really have too much to talk about, and that we wouldn't have anything in common. And I was impressed in terms of he did have stuff to talk about. He was more soft-spoken and was a lot different than what I expected. He was the opposite.
EAZY was like a child himself when he was around the children. And it was really neat to see how his eyes would light up and to see his compassion and his tenderness when he was working with a child who perhaps was catastrophically ill, or another child who was homeless or abandoned, and the interaction. The thing that struck me was that he obviously did this because he really loved doing it. I think that was one of the things that I admired most, is that he was really interested in doing it because he wanted to.
The biggest thing that people thought about EAZY was they thought he was just rough, tough, you know, didn't care about nothing. He probably was one of the nicest people you ever would have known if you known him for real. Not as easy, but as Eric Wright.
He has this hard image to uphold, but in terms of that, there's two sides to everybody. There's good and bad, there's hard and soft. So he was a well-rounded person. It wasn't just this hardcore, I don't give a F about anything. It was, you know, there's a person.
A hardcore rapper who celebrates sex, crime, and violence in his music is in a hospital tonight with AIDS. He says he has no idea how he got the fatal disease.
You know, like a month and a half before he got sick, and I'm kind of thinking New York is where he got sick because what happened, I was in the club. The club was called the Tunnel. That's near the river. Man, it was so cold. I'd never been that cold in my life, and the cabs wasn't stopping for no. So I stood outside for about 20 minutes, man, till my eyeballs was freezing. I went inside. He took off walking by himself, and I just know that's where he got sick.
I thought it was a serious problem then the first time when he went to the hospital, but then shortly thereafter when he wasn't getting better, maybe about a week later, and we went back and they started running a lot of tests, and definitely when I got the call with the diagnosis, that's when I knew it was serious.
I went to the hospital and I went into Eric's room and I think Tamika was in, and Eric wanted to talk to me. He said, "Mom, I have something to tell you." And I said, "Well, tell me then." He said, the doctor said I had something like Magic Johnson have, I'm sorry. And I said, "You mean to tell me?" And then he said, "AIDS."
Well, I heard it as a rumor from, from my homeboy's mother who works up there. About a week later, all these, people kept saying stuff, but it was still a rumor, still felt like a rumor. His assistant called me, and I went to school with her, so we know each other, and she just told me the real.
When the diagnosis was given and took place with the doctor, there were conversations between myself and him and his family of how to approach it, and due to the fact that he was in the limelight in terms of the public eye, other than just being Eric Wright at home or, that's my buddy, there are young people, older people, people that look to him as fans, kind of like, what are you doing, what's going on, good, bad, whatever, that something needed to be released, something needed to be said.
I'm not saying this because I'm looking for a soft cushion wherever I'm heading. I just feel that I got thousands and thousands of young fans that have to learn about what's real when it comes to AIDS.
I think EAZY's death changed not only me, but so many people in the community, black community, whatever community, in the ghetto rather, about AIDS, and letting you know that not just the people way up here can get it, but the people down in the streets can also get it.
It's something that is real, it's something that is out there, and other than just Eric dying from the disease, there are lots of other people, millions of people that are dying from the disease every day and that are suffering from it.
I always knew that was some not to f with, and I always knew, even in my young stupid days, when I was a youngster, I took pride in strapping it on, you know what I'm saying? And, EAZY E was a little more free with himself than that, you know what I'm saying? He said live it to the fullest, and that's what he did, so I couldn't really shed no tears for EAZY because he's he done lived life to the fullest, you know what I'm saying? He's been on the bottom all the way up to the top. He lived it how he wanted to.
This year is its 10th year anniversary, and letting people know what the company stood for, bringing it in a more positive light to show that it was more than a glorified production company, that it was a label that it broke and made its mark as a gangster rap label, but it's a bona fide label that had R&B, that had other rap acts, that is here to service. It is still that open door opportunity for a lot of urban people and young people that want to get into the industry. It's here. It's been here 10 years. It's a life. It was an idea and it's a dream that came true, and it's still living and it's still alive.
Put some life back into the rap game, you know what I'm saying? When he came from the police all the way to putting us in the game, you know what I'm saying? He kept the eras going about the game.
It ain't easy, it's work. He taught us how to handle the work, you know what I'm saying? How to watch out for the shystiness and just how to be humble. It's plain and simple. If Easy E, you know what I'm saying, wouldn't have been there for us, we wouldn't be here right now. You know what I'm saying? He gave us our chance, you know what I'm saying? Just like we've been saying, he gave us our walking shoes, we ran with them. You know what I'm saying? Point blank. Much love, Easy E, rest in peace. Easy.
Come,